Growing up and today, my family is a family of what you call label readers. And when you go through a normal grocery store in my hometown right now, you will see a long list of ingredients on most products. Some are natural, some synthetic, some are there for a reason, and some are just harmful. Today, we are talking with Alejandra Castellon, who works in product development and nutrition here at Young Living to share her knowledge about artificial and natural dyes in the food industry and what makes Young Living special. Hello and welcome to Young Living's podcast, The Wild Drop. My name is Jacob Young, your host. Young Living is a world leader in producing and distributing premium essential oils, and this podcast will provide you with drops of information about Young Living, including stories, history, product information, lots of little fun facts, and even more. Well, Alejandra, we're super excited to have you here on the podcast for the very first time. I think it's also the first time we've had product and nutrition on the podcast as well. So we're really excited with everything that you have to share today. I think it's amazing with what we're going to be talking about with food dyes, especially because it's so relevant in today's day and age, and a lot of people aren't aware of just how prevalent it is and how much there is in our food. But before we get started, because you are new to the podcast, I think it'd be great if you shared your name, of course, your title, what you did before Young Living, what led up to Young Living, and how long you've been with Young Living.
Of course. Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for inviting me, Jacob. I'm super excited to be here also and share a little bit of my knowledge on this. But yeah, well, my name is Alejandra Castellon. I am originally from Mexico. I studied a degree there and a master's there, and then I moved here. I have been in Young Living for almost 7 years now, and I love it. It's my dream job. Well, I study food science and technology initially, and then I have a master's in chemistry of natural products. So I landed in the perfect spot, no?
Yes, you did. That's awesome.
So, yeah, and then before I joined Young Living, I had my own business for some time. I worked a lot with CBD, actually in delivery systems for how the bioavailability of CBD. And then after I finished my degree, actually, I visited a friend in Santa Cruz, California. And she was very passionate about natural products. And so she bought me a book, and it was an essential oil book, actually, with a lot of recipes and science and things about essential oils. But that was in 2007. Yeah, and then since then, after my degree in food science, I still just did a lot of research and a lot of products using essential oils, even as a food scientist. So that's why I couldn't be in the best place here.
Good. Well, excited to share your history and your past, and obviously we're super happy and honored to have you as well. And I love the new projects that we're working on. We can't really share too much about it, but they taste really good. That's all I can really say about that. So let's talk about food dyes. Recently, RFK and the Health Administration just announced that they will be banning food dyes altogether here in the USA in 2027. I was very excited when I saw that, and we're going to kind of tell all of you why you should also be just as excited. Now, if you already kind of understand why food dyes are a problem, you're just as excited. But if you don't know, Alejandra here is going to share all of the tidbits and information on why this is actually a really, really good thing, and just how shocking the amount of food dyes there are in food.
Definitely. No, I was extremely surprised when I saw those news in January, because I never saw it coming here in the U.S. The FDA has always been approving certain synthetic dyes, right, as safe. But let me tell you something. For example, in Europe, they do it more precautionary, right? Let's not use it until it's proven safe. But in the U.S., it's the opposite. Let's use it until it causes harm, and then we can make changes. So seeing that the new administration is working on getting some dyes, at least some dyes are already approved to be banned. The other ones are still working on it. The Red 3, for example, has been proven to cause cancer in animals. They don't have human studies that are very conclusive, but at least with animals, it raised a lot of concerns, right? And then during my studies for food science, they always teach you that all processed foods have to have colorings. For what reason? Because it's more appealing for kids, also for adults, of course, but especially for kids. But that doesn't mean that they won't like it if it's not bright red or bright blue. Well, that's my opinion, right? But they always taught us to have to add something to the food so it looks prettier or so it looks more appealing. I don't agree with it, but that's the reason why dyes are used. And also, well, the one thing about synthetic dyes, which, by the way, I haven't mentioned, but they are petroleum-based, synthetic, man-made. Those dyes are very stable in formulations, right? You use very little of it, and they are very cheap. So it's for companies, I can see why they can be using those type of dyes versus naturals, which can be juices or extracts of certain plants. For example, turmeric is an approved natural colorant, but it can affect flavor, depending in where you put it. But in my mind, why do we have to educate people to like food that is brilliant red or pink? Like, why not in the natural state? I don't know. That's my thinking.
Yeah.
And then there are foods that we don't even imagine that have colorants. For example, pickles. They always add Jell-O.
What?
Jell-O 5.
I didn't know that. In pickles.
Pickles. Yeah,
What?
if you see the water is very yellow. So, and I love pickles, so I always have to be reading the
I love pickles
label.
too. So.
Mm-hmm. So there are a couple of brands that they use fermented pickles and they don't add colorants, right? And then, for example, yogurt. Yogurt is something very healthy, but they are making it unhealthy just because of all the added sugars. But the colorants, they all have pink. Well, in this case, it's red 40, but to make it look pink, right?
Yeah.
For kids, etc.
It's interesting because it's so common now that it just seems to be the norm, right? Mm-hmm. And not really like a perfect example, but I kind of think of this almost like lavender. When people smell our lavender, they're like, oh, it's like really,
herbaceous.
Herbaceous, earthy. It's not sweet. Mm-hmm. And I always tell people, I'm like, real lavender's not sweet. And it always like frustrates me. They're like, but lavender is so sweet and tasty. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not tasty. It's not sweet. It's not anything. It's earthy, groundy, and you can kind of smell the dirt in it. And so when people come down to the farm for the first time and smell true lavender, they're like, oh, it's a much deeper smell. It's a much deeper tone. It's not light and airy and sweet or anything like that. And I think of the same thing with like food dyes, right? But you also have waxes too that enrich the color of certain things as well, kind of like on apples and blueberries. And
yes, that is more to give them the shine, right?
Yeah.
To not be opaque and yeah, like we really need to be washing our vegetables if we buy them just conventionally in the supermarket, right?
Yeah, you can almost train your eye to kind of see what has food dyes and what's not. There's a few food items out there that are very rich in color. Like you were saying, the golden turmeric. Mm-hmm. The golden turmeric can definitely be a natural dye in its own. Trust me, I've accidentally spilled some on my white counter, and it took me a while to get that out.
Yeah, you need to use a solvent.
Yeah, beets are really good for red as well and stuff. And then one thing that I know about food dye, traveling all over the world, I love pistachio gelato and ice cream. That's one of my favorites. And I always noticed the like more pretty color pistachio. Like the more light green one that looks like pistachio is actually fake. It's a deep green that's true pistachio, and you can taste the difference too. Yeah. So now everywhere when I'm looking for pistachio gelato, I look for the true pistachio gelato.
Yeah, well, the other types of food that we don't imagine that have colorants is, like you were mentioning, pistachios, but also chips. I mean, if you already have chili powders or cheese, they already have a color. But no, they have to be bright red or bright yellow. and they have to add those colorants in those chips. But the concern for the people that we haven't mentioned, there are two types of concern. Well, number one is the carcinogenicity that we just talked about, that has only been proven in animal studies, but of course it raises concerns. And then we have allergies for people that are very sensitive. But in my personal experience, I am asthmatic. So when I take Red 40 especially, I get asthma. And I know it's very tangible. Like, I know is the colors. It's every time I take, colorants.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for people that is very sensitive, those concerns are a major thing. So with the new administration, the other thing that they have been doing besides banning some of those artificial colors is also they are pushed to be approved of some natural colors. An algae extract that is going to give you a blue color, actually. And then butterfly pea flower extract. We actually use that one here at the lab for color blue. But we don't have a product with that yet. It's just in the lab. It's a tea, and people use it for cocktail beverages that look fancy
really?
and beautiful. And, but yeah, it's called butterfly pea flower extract. And the other one is a white color, calcium phosphate. It's a mineral.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Those three are the brand new ones on the list. But the other ones that we already have approved that are widely used in the industry is, for example, beta-carotene, which is actually a precursor of vitamin A. Mm-hmm. But it's a yellow-orange color. For example, the beet juice that you just mentioned, fruit and vegetable juices, that's what we use here at Young Living mostly, is the natural color of the beets and blueberry extract, for example. And a lot of our things don't need color. Like our Ninja Red has a beautiful red orangey color, and it's natural from the puree, right? Then we have the paprika, saffron, that is a yellow color, and so many others that are already approved. So we do have a big list of all kinds of colors. For example, for greens, we have chlorophyll, we have a spirulina extract. I have seen in grocery shopping, there are a lot of companies out there that are trying to make cleaner products and more natural labels. And not just Young Living, but yeah, we need to have the awareness of how these chemicals can affect us in the family.
It's been really great to see over the last, 20 years since I've been alive, just how aware people are and how much people are paying attention to labels now. Growing up, we were always, my mom called us label readers, always read the label first before you buy it and stuff. And I will admit, from time to time, I just kind of ignore the label, but it depends on the situation where I am. But I'm always very aware with what I'm putting in my body and what all the ingredients mean and what to expect, what I get from them, whether it's beneficial or not. What's so amazing with all of the products that we have here at Young Living is we have literally zero artificial dyes. Mm-hmm. All the colors that you see come from nature. Yes. And so kind of talking, a few people have brought up the point of, your blends, they have like different colors to them and stuff. Do you add like different colors? And I always tell them, no, that's just part of the oils. Like if you look at blue tansy is such a deep, rich blue, right? And then you kind of go to frankincense. It's more of like what you would typically expect from an oil, that yellowy kind of vibrant orange right there. You also have not really an oil that we sell, but that we have used with like simplified blends. So we've used the white grapefruit. It's this really light pinkish, almost tannish color, essentially. And that provides a really interesting color as well. But with you working on the product and nutrition side, I'd love you to kind of speak to that part of, you talked about how we don't really use artificial dyes. We just use what nature's been given us, and nature already has these beautiful, bold, bright colors. You just have to know which ones have that color.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, my area of expertise is nutrition, but this will apply to personal care as well here at Young Living, right? These same dyes are used in cosmetics also in pharma, in drugs, and OTC, for example. And if you think about it, well, yeah, it's because in pharma especially, they need to use everything so standardized and so chemically perfect because of the quality that they need to have as a pharma, as a drug. And maybe that's why they don't want to use certain natural ingredients. But for me as a food scientist, I say it's the same. Why do you need to have a tablet that is bright yellow? Let's just have a tablet.
I think it just depends. Like for me, I've always been raised to know that super bright colors like that usually are artificial and fake. And so I always am turned off immediately by that. And so that's what I was saying is like, unfortunately, because it's such a norm, people don't know what normal is, what natural is, and they're not able to kind of distinguish it and whatnot. So just like what you were saying, education and bringing awareness about it is so important. And luckily, a lot more people are talking about it, speaking about it, sharing about it. And it's very interesting to see.
Yeah, and now, as you mentioned, blue tansy. In this case, we can use blue tansy to color our face creams or serums. And it just makes a beautiful color, right? Yeah.
And the thing is that nature, while providing so many options, is also limited with what it can produce, right? So kind of a good example is like you have simplified and savvy minerals, which we used to have back in the day. And a lot of people was like, oh, why don't you have this color palette? And I always tell them, I'm like, well, that's not a natural color. That's a synthetic color that nature can't make. Like, if you understand the color spectrum and the color wheel, you can mix two colors together, get one color, right? But sometimes nature doesn't have that specific color that's made. And simplified is kind of the same way. We have so many people that are like, oh, I want this scent. I want this scent. And well, that's an artificial, man-made, usually synthetic. That's not even an oil. It's just these random fluids, mixtures, smells, concoctions that make up that one scent specifically. And I always laugh because a lot of people love pumpkin spice and they think there's pumpkin in it. You can't get smell out of pumpkin. You cannot get oil out of pumpkin or anything like that. Well, you can get pumpkin oil, but you can't get like coloring or smell of pumpkin. And so there's literally no pumpkin in pumpkin spice. And that goes for simplified too. Like you really can't get it. And so I just always laugh.
Yeah, you're totally right. For example, this applies to flavors too.
Yeah.
So the exact same sample that you talk about, the pumpkin, they have to add organic compounds together to mimic certain smell or taste.
Yeah.
But at Young Living, it's the same thing. We use natural flavors that are certified, and they come usually from extractives of botanical or fruits, but also they add compounds to enhance certain flavors, but all come from natural sources, right? So yeah, the fragrance industry, the flavor industry, for example, is also, there's a lot of debate on that as well, because there are a lot of studies that came out that have shown that cause hormonal imbalances or endocrine disruption in our bodies.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see that there's a lot of, especially because a lot of the fragrances come from the European side. And Europe is so much better when it comes to looking out for our overall health. I just look at, if you look at like the ingredient list of a bag of Cheetos here in the United States compared to the ingredient list of a bag of Cheetos in Europe, the ingredient list on the European bag is like 1/8 the size and ingredient deck of what you get in the USA. And same thing with fragrances. I've noticed that too. But it's also amazing. Europe is kind of falling a little bit behind with it, but in the earlier days, they would really go for pure natural fragrance. And now, unfortunately, they've gone a little bit synthetic. And so, as you've mentioned, there's been a lot of studies and articles done on these artificial fragrances, these additives that they've been putting in for the smell to be more enhanced, stronger, to last longer and stuff.
Yeah, and this will apply also in cleaning products, for example. All the very, very strong fragrances. So that's why I love Young Living. We have the options of every single part of your routine in a day that it's helping our community to be healthy as well.
Yeah, not only the community too, but the earth, right? You got to think a lot of these synthetic ingredients that are made for fragrances, flavors, etc., whatever it may be in these dyes, they're harmful to the earth, right? They're not biodegradable. They're very toxic to make as well. And so what's amazing with Young Living and all the products that we provide you and offer you, we go such the long extra mile to provide you with the best possible products the way that nature intended it, so you don't have to read the label or worry about the label, worry about how the ingredients are made, because it all comes from nature, the best source possible that we have.
Definitely. I love that. And as a formulator, also, we do look into traceability of the ingredients. Where are these ingredients coming from? And we go back to also communities. How is this harvesting of certain botanical helping the communities that live in that area, right? So, yeah, we have an overall thought of one ingredient. We have to put a lot of research into it.
Yeah, the sourcing is honestly one of my favorite parts. Is a lot of people don't realize that what we have in nature is not infinite. My dad always talked about if we are to take 1,000 trees, we need to plant tenfold of that, right, to give back, and to always give more than what we take. And so as you mentioned, hey, if we can help the community that's harvesting and this is their livelihood, let's enhance that. And we do that through the foundation, through sourcing, part of our pillars with Sea to Seal. It's just a beautiful, amazing process that we have here, and it's unlike anything else that's out there because nobody else really does what we do.
Definitely. Jacob, what you're mentioning brings me to, or reminds me to, the Lacy Act that we have on Young Living. The Lacy Act basically is that we do take care of the communities and make sure that every single botanical that is coming from certain areas, it's legal or,
that it's protected for everyone to use now, but also protected for many generations to be able to have the access to use those oils, those ingredients, whatever it may be. So
yeah, and that's an option, right? It's an optional for the company. It's not that it's a requirement. So that's why I feel really proud of what Young Living is doing to have these established in our company.
It's a big expense, trust me. It's if we weren't so focused on providing you with the best, not only for you, but also, like I said, ensuring the planet's protection for many future generations to come. And we can talk more and more, and we definitely will. But love to go back to kind of what you were talking about with your personal interactions and experiences with the artificial dyes and why Young Living is just that great alternative choice of not having to worry about any of that. But also making sure that you know why it's important to know about this stuff, to share about this stuff, and to make people aware of it, because it's extremely damaging. It's terrible. So.
Yeah. Well, I want people to trust us, right? I want to make sure they know that we're doing everything we can because we, as you mentioned, we care. But me as a formulator and as a scientist, I will never formulate something that I wouldn't agree with. And so, for example, we have a lot of soft gels. If you go to a contract manufacturer, they always give you this sample of soft gels that are opaque red or blue or yellow or white even. But they all have chemicals that Young Living cannot use, or we have established that we cannot use, right? And so, no, we need the natural, the just transparent, the natural form of the gelatin that we can use. So that's one example of that I see day a day. And as we mentioned, we just care about the label, how it's going to look. We do our best, the best on our knowledge, to just add all the ingredients that are actives. For example, if you see a lot of our powders, we need to have bulking agents or carriers. But what do? We use prebiotic fiber to take that place. We don't use maltodextrin, or we don't use just synthetic dextrose or things like that. We use prebiotic fiber because it's going to give you the function of the carrier, but also a benefit in your body. So that's what we just care the most when we formulate something.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, your passion, and sharing all of your wisdom with everything that you know. And we're super excited to have you come back on to talk more about product and nutrition and the science behind it. Because as we all know, all of our listeners love knowing all the science behind all great things. So any last words that you'd like to share with the people, your sign off?
Well, I think that not only trust us, but you can go in and look at our labels, and you can also find for yourself that everything that we formulate with, it's clean and natural and avoiding synthetics.
Correct. It's something that you can have and don't have to worry about. Well, once again, Alejandra, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate your time, and until next time. And thank you for tuning into this episode of The Wild Drop. Remember, you can listen on iTunes, Spotify, on YouTube, and of course our website at www.youngliving.com. Don't forget to oil up Young Living family. This is Jacob Young, dropping out. Take care.